between just like the Olympics and Simone Biles win and the hostages coming home, I am in like tattoo the American flag on my chest and let's all run into the streets. Like I am at a level of patriotism.
Hulk Hogan waving the American flag. Hello, everyone. It's JVL here with my best friend, Sarah Longwell, publisher of The Bulwark. So, do you want to talk about Kamala's fundraising numbers? Do you want to talk about the Society of Black Journalists or the National Association of Black Journalists moment, which you and I have not spoken about? I did a thing with Tim about it. Or do you want to talk about Josh Shapiro?
I loved how you guys just jumped on without me after that.
Well, we had to get it out within 5 minutes of it ending.
I know.
You were working to save democracy. So,
yeah, I mean, the fundraising numbers I don't think requires a ton of time spent on it. So, like, we can kind of cruise by that one, which is, do you have the number in front of you of what it ultimately was for her in July?
I'll pull it up.
Because here's the thing I'll say. It's like 321 million.
Okay, here it is. Let me reach it. Okay. It has raised $310 million in July, the biggest haul of the 2024 cycle. They have already banked $1 billion this cycle. They are reporting $377 million in cash on hand. And of their donors, they had 3 million donors, and 94% of donations were under $200, and the most common donor occupations are teachers and nurses.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, here's my main thing on the fundraising. So the month of July is actually, in this context, July 20th? Like, when did she, like, it's not from July 1.
No, it's like 10 days.
It's like been 10 days. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of people are comparing it to Trump's, which I think it's like 100 and something million. It's 127, 150. Okay, whatever. So Trump has like at least like something like half that. And I think that it's all the more extraordinary when you think that hers is like 10 days of July. His is for the full month of July. Also, it's the month he was shot at, and the month of the RNC convention. And so I think when you put it in that context, it's all the more startling. And also, I mean, I don't know. It's obviously unbecoming to sit here and do I told you so, but like the extent to which we were trying to explain to people how demoralized and like not into this race voters were, and how much voters wanted Joe Biden out. Like, what this money is just, it's just untapped enthusiasm. Like, that's what it's quantifying. It is quantifying people being like, I'm so pumped about this. Here, take my money. Thank God we finally did something. Look, Democrats actually doing something that seems like an obvious thing to do. And so I think, look, and here's money you can gauge enthusiasm with dollars. You cannot gauge votes, right? Because, but what I think that Joe Biden, and this is where I really thought Joe Biden was headed to certain defeat, had a lot to do with not even the voters I talk to all the time, sort of the double haters. I maintain that when push comes to shove, some chunk, like a decent chunk of the double haters were going to break for Joe Biden, not for him, but like just against Trump. My big concern was listening to young voters, was listening to black voters, was just listening to Democratic voters who were Clinton Biden voters who were like, I don't think it's responsible to put him back into office. I think I might just leave the top of the ticket blank. And before there were all the other couch jokes, like the big line was like, it's not really just a choice between Biden and Trump. It's a choice between Biden and the couch. And I think there was a lot of people who were going to choose couch. And that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore. And it means you got foot soldiers to go knock on doors. It means you got they got money to spend on ads to define her. So anyway, and I will say they both have about an equal amount of cash on hand because Trump has been
he spent
Trump
nothing during the month of July, I think, right? While Biden was flailing, Trump just sat there.
So it's not like there's a huge gap right now in terms of what they have to spend. But it is just a wild difference from, and this is also, I mean, this is also one of the things we were talking about. There was just a ton of hand wringing in that moment about Biden stepping down. They're like, but you got to have access to his war chest, which of course she does. But like, we were also like, whoever it is, they will raise $1 gajillion as soon as they're there. Like, the money to me was never something that was going to be an impediment, and it's not. Like, you can just see how excited people are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so long as the candidate had the goods, and this is what I think can't be overstated, her performance over the last 2 weeks has been absolutely critical. If she had come out and fumbled this, the world would not look like this.
That's true.
But
it's not. It's like it's beyond.
Right. It is
true.
performance dependent.
And it was always going to be performance dependent. Like, I think there was always an element of, like, obviously, this is why it was a risk, right? Like, we haven't seen her perform at the look. I don't think anybody would be lying if they didn't say they are impressed and a little bit surprised by how just absolutely perfect she's been. I think that when you look at it, you're sort of like, she's been doing the job for 3.5 years. Like, it's not like hasn't learned anything. This is where the arguments from, because the anti-antis, they're mad. They're big mad that she is shifting her positions. And to be clear, not just shifting. Like, they are big jumps from where she was. She's saying, Medicaid for all, nope. Fracking, fine. Money for the border, let's do more for the border. Money for the border. Yeah, that is not how she sounded in 2019. It's not. That being said, it's not like she's pivoting from the Democratic primary into a general election where, by the way, any politician ever moves to the center in that thing. Like, the idea that you don't, it's absurd, right? It's like basic politics 101. Everyone does it. But she's not going directly there. She's going from a Democratic primary where she was running to the left of everybody, then got chosen as vice president and did 3.5 years of that. And now, having governed as vice president, is running in a general election without any primary. So, like, from a political matter, what she's doing makes complete sense. Also, frankly, like, I just love how mad people are about it. Like, did you just expect that she would be terrible? I'm sorry, she's not. Did you just expect that she was going to take her lousy positions and just keep them in a general election? I'm sorry that she's being good at politics. Are you so mad she's being good at politics? They are.
They don't like
Mark Andrew. Is it Mark Thiessen? Who's the one I'm fighting with on Twitter from Washington Post?
Oh, God. That's Thiessen. Andreessen is the Silicon Valley VC guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Josh Shapiro. Can we talk about Josh Shapiro? So I have been surprised at how much animosity I'm seeing from just the left on the subject of Shapiro. Now, when I say the left, I am talking about just anecdotes here. I go to the Bulwark subreddit, which is much more liberal than like the normie. I would say the Bulwark subreddit is much more liberal than your median Bulwark reader. To Threads, which is like a crazy liberal echo chamber. To even I'd say some comments from some of our more progressive readers on the triad. And people are they don't want Shapiro. The people on the left do not want Shapiro, and he seems to be the only person they do not want. Like they've fixated on him. Mm-hmm. And I wonder why you think that is. I have a theory. I have a set of theories. I'm writing about this today. I'll finish it after we talk. Maybe you'll say something that I'll steal. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest reason is that the split over Palestine, Israel for the left was extremely painful for them. And it feels like they've sewn that up, and it's not like the liability that it was 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. And I think they don't want to reopen that wound. And they are worried that Josh Shapiro, not just because he's Jewish, but because he has actively condemned the protesters at times, and because he, even though he said Netanyahu's like the worst leader that he's seen in his lifetime around Israel. You know, even though he said that, I think they feel like he codes more pro-Israel in part because he's Jewish. I'm not gonna chalk everything up to anti-Semitism. I think there's still a little bit of that. I think it just has to do more though with them feeling like he's too pro-Israel and he's going to reopen that wound. Also though, he has also poked the teachers unions in the eye. He believes in school vouchers, so it's not just the Israel Gaza stuff. I think the NEA has been out there, really actively campaigning against Josh Shapiro and using what is a considerable war chest and membership operation to really sort of stir up anti-Josh Shapiro sentiment. And I got to tell you, the more of that, all that happens, the more I want it to be Josh Shapiro, the more I'm like, yeah, man, stick it to him. I mean, God, the teachers unions are like the last people that I'm going to listen to. So, yeah,
I look at this from just a political reality standpoint, and the left's fixation on why they don't want Shapiro is, to me, the political reason why it should be Shapiro. Mm-hmm. Because, and here's the truth, and to my progressive friends, fair's got nothing to do with it, right? The fact of the matter is that Republicans can win the White House with 47% of the popular vote. Democrats cannot win the White House with less than 51% of the popular vote. That is just fact. It is a 4 percentage point difference. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that your tipping point states are going to be places like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is going to be much more conservative than your median Democratic blue state, which means that your presidential ticket will have to be more center-left than your median Democratic voter. And this isn't fair. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. They would sit around and they'd be like, wait a minute, the MAGAs get to get everything they want, and we have to like sit and suck on a lemon. And the answer is yes. And I'm sorry, but that's the Electoral College. Like, that's the world we live in. And
the Electoral College is not going anywhere. So you can be mad about it,
and it may
but
shift.
It's not going anywhere.
Right. And look, the disposition of it may shift over time. 20 years from now, this may no longer be the case. But as things stand right now, that means you need to code more center-left than progressive. And I find it hard to believe.
Pennsylvania.
You need Pennsylvania. Like on the Gaza stuff, I try to imagine the hypothetical Democratic voter in Michigan who, because Shapiro's on the ticket, says, well, that's it. I'm not going to vote for Harris against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And with that person, I have to imagine that person is already not going to vote for Harris because he or she will say something like, Harris is indistinguishable from Joe Biden. Joe Biden is genocide Joe. I'm not going to. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the idea that Shapiro is the tipping point on that, and it wouldn't be that the candidate herself is tied to Joe Biden on her support of Israel. I just don't buy that. Well, is that crazy? Is that motivated reasoning on my part?
No, I don't. Well, here's what I think. I think that the reason that Josh Shapiro works in part, like if it was a different candidate at the top of the ticket, I might be more open to the fact that he would do damage. But what you're trying to do is find balance. And I think that first of all, the vice president's going to matter. It's going to matter, doesn't matter more than the president. And Kamala Harris, these voters, I think in Michigan, who were genocide Joe types, they don't think she was part of that. They don't feel like and she has been, she boycotted the Netanyahu speech. Like she's going to show, and I think maybe more so, and this is where I think the balance comes in, more so than maybe even a lot of Democratic sort of donors or elites would like. She's restated her commitment to Israel, whatever, and she talked about, right now I think she's doing a good job of just explaining the nuance of this situation. But I feel like she gets a lot of wiggle room because of who she is to grab a guy like Josh Shapiro. And I also, I got to tell you, I've been when I do the focus groups with Democrats, especially Black Democrats, they're wildly pragmatic at the moment. They're just what does it take to beat Donald Trump? Yeah. Do that thing. And so I think a lot of this is overblown. I think people will get on board. I think there's going to be a few loud people on Twitter, maybe some people on college campuses that will show up to protest. Maybe some of them show up to protest at the DNC. But you know what? They were going to show up and protest at the DNC anyway. So I think, look, I still think Shapiro's the choice, unless my only caveat is they are vetting on a really tight timeline. And so if it turns out that Josh Shapiro, like, I don't know, did something terrible at some point, then I withdraw. But right now, I don't see why. I just can't see why it wouldn't be Shapiro.
Do you think it's going to be? That's a different question. Hey, Sarah, there's more show.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Are we still talking? We have more talking?
We're still talking. The talking goes on. But that's only for the people who are inside the Velvet Rope, the Bulwark Plus members.
Oh, they got to subscribe.
Yeah. Tell them to subscribe. Tell the people,
You should subscribe,
Sarah.
Guys. Why wouldn't you subscribe? You get all kinds of things. You get some extra me and JVL. You get some extra me and George Conway. You get JVL's Triad. This is one of the best things the Bulwark offers. I read it at least once or twice a week.
Yes. Go and subscribe. We'd love to have you.